This prince got a brilliant idea, and by brilliant I mean absolutely terrifying. He decides the best way to remind everyone of Japan's might is to resurrect a death cult. The prince heads straight to prison to visit Amano, the founder of the cult of Hades. Now, Amano's been locked up for good reason. This guy created an entire organization dedicated to death. But the prince doesn't care about the ethics here. He's got a reputation to rebuild. I need you to bring back the Hades sect, the prince tells the old man. People need to fear us again. Amano's been waiting for this moment. You can see it in his eyes. This isn't just about serving his country anymore. This is personal. He agrees immediately, but he's got conditions. There's someone he needs to see, someone who can actually make this resurrection happen. Meanwhile, in a training hall somewhere else entirely, we meet Daisuke. This guy's practicing martial arts. With the kind of intensity that makes you wonder what demons he's fighting inside his head. When Amano shows up with the high priest, Daisuke's world gets turned upside down. His old master is standing right there, asking him to do the one thing he thought he'd never have to do again, bring back the cult of Hades. You're my most talented student, Amano tells him. You maintained all our principles even after I was imprisoned. This is your destiny. And just like that, Daisuke becomes the new leader of a death cult. But Amano's not done with his instructions. He wants Daisuke to create something that'll grab the world's attention, a death tournament. They're going to kidnap the best fighters from around the globe and force them to battle Hades' warriors to the death. It's like a twisted martial arts movie, except people actually die. But there's one specific target Amano wants eliminated, K-29, who's now going by the name Huji. This guy used to be one of their own, but he escaped years ago and joined the Shaolin. Even worse, people call him the Vajra King because of his incredible fighting abilities. Amano can't stand that a former Hades warrior is now representing everything they stand against. Bring him back, Amano orders. Kill him publicly. Destroy this myth of the Vajra King. To make sure the world sees their victory, Amano brings his daughter Aiko into the plan. She's a reporter, perfect for spreading their propaganda. What he doesn't realize is that he's about to put his own child in the crosshairs of something much bigger than political theater. Now let's shift to the Shaolin Temple, where we find Huji in the middle of training. But this isn't about showing off. There's something haunted about the way he practices, like he's trying to outrun memories that won't leave him alone. The truth is, Huji carries a burden that would crush most people. When he was still part of the Hades cult, they forced him to fight his own brother, K-31, to the death. He won, but the victory destroyed something inside him. The guilt of killing his own blood drove him away from everything he'd ever known. After escaping Hades, Huji found sanctuary at the Shaolin Temple with his younger brother, Qingquang. The monks took them in, gave them a new life built on peace instead of violence. But you can't just walk away from that kind of trauma. Even surrounded by wisdom and tranquility, Huji struggles with the darkness he carries. His Shaolin master approaches during training, and their conversation reveals something crucial about Huji's abilities. He possesses a technique called the 17-second deadly moves, also known as the Wrath of Vajra. It's exactly what it sounds like, a series of attacks so devastating they can end a fight in 17 seconds. But there's a catch. You're still holding back your emotions, the master tells him. True power comes from pure feelings, from genuine compassion for all living things. Until you embrace that, you'll never reach your full potential. The irony is brutal. Huji's greatest strength requires him to feel everything he's spent years trying to suppress. The guilt, the pain, the love for the brother he killed, all of it has to be accepted before he can truly master his abilities. While Huji grapples with his inner demons, ships are cutting through dark waters toward a remote island. On board are multinational forces who've been captured and are being transported to their doom. This isn't just a temple, it's a fortress built for death matches, complete with arenas where fighters will battle for their lives. The high priest welcomes them with rules that sound more like a death sentence. Fight and maybe live. Refuse and definitely die. Win enough matches and you might earn the privilege of joining their cult. When Daisuke meets with Bill and his crew, we learn something that changes everything. Bill and two of his companions used to be Hades fighters themselves. They escaped the cult just like Huji did, and now they're back as prisoners. Daisuke offers them a chance to rejoin their old family, but their response is immediate and definitive. They'd rather die than go back to that life. Back at the Shaolin Temple, tragedy strikes. The head monk is dying, and his final words carry a warning that chills everyone to the bone. The leader of Hades has returned, and he's specifically challenging Huji to a fight. The old monk passes away knowing that the peace they've built is about to be shattered. During the funeral procession, devastating news arrives. Kinkwang has been kidnapped by the Hades sect. Huji's worst nightmare is coming true. The cult isn't just calling him back for a fight, they're using his brother as bait. The scene shifts to Hades' temple, where we see the true horror of what they're doing. Kinkwang and other kidnapped children are terrified, crying, trying to understand why they've been torn from their families. These aren't fighters, they're innocent kids being used as psychological weapons. Daisuke approaches the children with a predator's smile, and when Kinkwang tries to run, he's caught immediately. The way Daisuke handles the boy tells you everything about how far the cult has fallen. They mark the children with numbers on their arms, just like the adult fighters, preparing them for brainwashing. Huji arrives at the island carrying a wooden coffin on his back. The symbolism is perfect. He's literally carrying death with him, ready to embrace it if that's what it takes to save his brother. The Vajra King has returned to the place where his legend began. Aiko, Amano's daughter, watches Huji's arrival with complex emotions playing across her face. She's been secretly in love with him since they were young, but she's also here to document his defeat for her father's propaganda machine. Daisuke has been waiting years for this confrontation, building his strength and his hatred in equal measure. Free the children. Huji demands, cutting straight to the heart of why he's here. You know our rules. Fight for what you want. Defeat Tetsumaku and Crazy Monkey, then face me, win all 3 fights, and the children go free. But Huji accepts without hesitation. As Huji enters the arena, Huang is in the middle of losing badly to Tetsumaku. Right there, in front of everyone, he kills Huang. It's brutal, unnecessary, and designed to send a message. The fight isn't even close. Tetsumaku might have dominated Huang, but Huji operates on a completely different level. Then Tetsumaku makes a fatal mistake. In his desperation and rage, he kills one of the prisoners, an innocent person who posed no threat to anyone. That's when Huji stops holding back. The rage that floods through him is the pure emotion his Shaolin master talked about. Not anger for anger's sake, but righteous fury at the senseless destruction of life. He carries Huang's body to the mortuary, thanks the caretaker for treating the dead with dignity. That's when Aiko confronts him in his room, and their conversation reveals the ideological war at the heart of this story. You didn't have to kill Tetsumaku, she says, but there's more confusion than anger in her voice. I had to save my brother. Huji looks at her with something that might be pity. You don't understand what this place really is. The next day brings more challenges as several Hades fighters demand revenge for Tetsumaku's death. They come at Huji together, weapons drawn, honor forgotten in their thirst for vengeance. Huji accepts their challenge because what else can he do? But Daisuke stops the fight before it really begins, and his reaction tells you everything about how far the cult has fallen from its original principles. That night, Huji explores the temple through secret passages he remembers from his childhood. What he discovers in the main hall breaks his heart all over again. Kinkwang and the other children are being forced to participate in rituals worshipping Hades, the god of death. Their innocence is being systematically destroyed. The next morning brings Tetsumaku's funeral. Huji attends to pay his respects, not to the man Tetsumaku became, but to who he might have been before the cult corrupted him. Aiko approaches during the funeral. She's starting to see cracks in everything she believed, questioning whether the propaganda she's been spreading serves any good purpose. That same day, 3 prisoners, including Arnold, one of Bill's men, are forced to fight Crazy Monkey in complete darkness. The fight is a massacre. Crazy Monkey moves through shadows like a predator, killing all 3 prisoners without taking a single hit. When the prisoners see Arnold's body being dragged away, the reality of their situation hits home. Bauer, Arnold's friend, breaks down completely. A fight breaks out between the prisoners and Hades warriors, and in the chaos, Bauer gets stabbed. Huji arrives just in time to see his friend dying, and Bauer's final request destroys what's left of Huji's emotional barriers. every person he's watched die. That night, as Huji prepares for his fight against Crazy Monkey, the arena goes dark. Light is Crazy Monkey's weakness, so they eliminate every source of illumination. In the pitch blackness, Huji struggles. He's a visual fighter. Fighting blind puts him at a severe disadvantage, and Crazy Monkey takes full advantage. But the mortuary caretaker has been watching, and he's seen enough innocent people die. Suddenly, Crazy Monkey loses his advantage, and Huji doesn't waste the opportunity. The counterattack is swift and decisive. With light to guide him, Huji overwhelms Crazy Monkey completely. Back in prison, Prince Shirajinomiya is furious. His grand plan to restore fear and respect for Japan is crumbling as their best fighters get defeated one by one. But Amano has one more card to play. Aiko has sent her father a letter explaining what she's discovered about the Hades cult, the truth behind the propaganda. She's planning to expose it all, to tell the world what's really happening on this island. Amano's response is swift and brutal. He sends weapons to arm the Hades fighters and orders them to kill all the prisoners during Dasuke's fight with Huji. But Huji has been spying on their meetings, and he knows what's coming. The man who once killed his own brother isn't going to let more innocent people die on his watch. He devises a plan that requires trusting the one person who's shown genuine compassion in this place of death, the mortuary caretaker. Using Arnold's body as a messenger, Huji passes along instructions for a desperate gambit. When he confronts Dasuke about the hanging prisoners, Huji makes an offer that seems like madness. He'll fight Bill and Kunchai to the death if it means the other's life. Bill and Kunchai accept immediately. The fight is heartbreaking to watch. These are friends being forced to battle each other, and Huji tries to end it as quickly as possible to minimize their suffering. To everyone watching, Bill and Kunchai die in combat. But death is just the beginning of Huji's plan. The mortuary caretaker, following Huji's instructions, manages to revive both men. They weren't actually dead, just unconscious from precisely applied pressure points. That evening, Huji visits Kinkwang to reassure his terrified brother. The promise he makes, that rescue is coming soon, carries the weight of absolute commitment. This isn't hope, this is certainty. But their plan hits a snag when Hades fighters catch the mortuary caretaker passing messages to the prisoners. They learn he helped Huji defeat Crazy Monkey by providing light during their fight. The High Priest's response is predictable: lock down the prisoners during the final fight to prevent any uprising. But they underestimate the preparation that's already taken place. Bill and Kunchai have maps of the secret passages, keys to the cells, and weapons hidden throughout the complex. When Aiko tries to convince Huji to escape with the children instead of fighting, his response shows how completely he's committed to this path. I know what they're planning, he tells her. That I have plans too. The arena fills with spectators as Dasuke and Huji face each other for the final time. The mortuary caretaker is chained at the edge of the fighting space, forced to watch as punishment for his betrayal. As rain begins to fall heavily, both fighters take their positions. The early exchanges go badly for Huji, who finds himself getting overwhelmed by his opponent's improved abilities. That's when the mortuary caretaker makes a desperate choice. He tears off his sleeve, revealing a tattoo that stops everyone's heart. K31. Huji's brother, the one he thought he'd killed years ago, is alive. The revelation hits Huji like lightning. All these years of guilt, all the self-hatred and regret, all the careful control he's maintained over his emotions, it all shatters in an instant. He rises from the ground transformed. This isn't the conflicted man who's been holding back his feeling. Huji unleashes the true wrath of Vajra, techniques so devastating and precise that they seem to bend reality around them. Aiko and others try to protect the children while battles rage around them. Then disaster strikes. The High Priest grabs Kinkwang, pressing a blade to the boy's throat. He's willing to kill a child to maintain control. She throws herself between the priest and the boy, taking the killing blow meant for Kinkwang. As she lies dying in Bill's arms, her final words carry the weight of absolute clarity: protect the children. Inside the temple, Bill's forces finally overcome the last Hades resistance. Dasuk's final moments carry their own tragedy. As he lies dying, he sees his followers fighting with weapons instead of skill, abandoning every principle the cult once held sacred. The thing he dedicated his life to has become something he no longer recognizes. With his last breath, he does something that shocks everyone. He acknowledges Huji as the true Vajra king, then throws himself from the arena's edge. The remaining Hades fighters drop their weapons and surrender. The story concludes at Aiko's grave, where Huji, Kinkwang, and K-31 pay their respects to someone who chose love over loyalty, truth over propaganda, and ultimately gave her life to protect innocent children. If you've made it this far without smashing that subscribe button, congrats. You officially have more self-control than I do at a buffet. But seriously, hit subscribe. I waste my life watching movies so you don't have to. It's the least you could do.